It's July 19th in Seoul. I'm Choi Min-jung. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with South Korea's resumption of anti-Pyongyang broadcasts. South Korea blasted anti-Pyongyang loudspeaker broadcasts near the inter-Korean border overnight in retaliation against North Korea's latest filth balloon deliveries. Heavy rain will continue to pound the country on Friday, mainly in the southern region. Rain is expected to stop temporarily in the capital region until the afternoon. Former U.S. President Donald Trump is set to address the Republican National Convention and formally accept the GOP nomination for president. This comes as President Biden faces ongoing calls to leave the race. South Korea has resumed anti-Pyongyang loudspeaker broadcast aimed at the north in response to the regime's latest deliveries of filth-carrying balloons. The South Korean military said it issued several warning messages to North Korea regarding such actions. The broadcast took place from Thursday evening to early Friday in areas close to where the balloons were launched. North Korea again launched balloons on Thursday afternoon, a few days after it warned of serious consequences following anti-Pyongyang leaflets being sent from the south. North Korea has sent more than 2,000 trash-carrying balloons across the inter-Korean border since late May. A delegation of Russian defense officials are in North Korea with its deputy defense minister holding talks with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Thursday. According to the North's KCNA on Friday, Russia's deputy defense minister Alexei Krivoruchko met with the North Korean leader at the headquarters of the Workers' Party of Korea. The report added that the two recognized the importance and need for military cooperation between the two countries to protect mutual security interests. The visit marks the first time a high-ranking Russian defense official has visited North Korea since Russian President Vladimir Putin visited North Korea last month. Heavy monsoon rain is forecast to hit southern regions of the country on Friday, but most parts of the country will see a break from rain until the afternoon. Meanwhile, northern Gyeonggi regions that were hit hard by torrential rain earlier this week are finally seeing their traffic and transportation routes normalize. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Monsoon rain continues here in Korea on Friday, with heavy rain forecast to hit the southern regions of the peninsula. The southwestern city of Gwangju and the Jeollanam-do regions will see heavy rain of around 30 millimeters per hour until the afternoon, while southeastern cities like Busan and Ulsan will also see similar rainfall. Gyeonggi Province is expected to be hit the hardest with more than 100 millimeters of accumulated rain throughout the day. However, most parts of the country are forecast to get a break from the recent heavy rainfall until the afternoon. Meanwhile, as of 5 a.m. Friday, the main transportation network in the northern Gyeonggi region, which had been paralyzed after the torrential rain earlier in the week, is operating normally. The Dongbu Expressway linking Seoul to Gyeonggi opened after a 15-hour shutdown due to a rise in water levels in a nearby stream. The region's railways, including the Gyeongwon Line, Gyeonggi Line, and the Gyeongcheon Line, which had been suspended, also resumed operation from 5:40 p.m. Thursday. The northern and southern areas of Gyeonggi-do Province were among the hardest hit regions on Thursday, with Pyeongtaek, located 60 kilometers south of Seoul, recording hourly rainfall of 88.5 millimeters at one point in the morning. Paju in northern Gyeonggi-do reported accumulated rain of over 633 millimeters from Tuesday to late Thursday morning, with many people forced to evacuate from their homes. The government said as of 5 a.m. Thursday, a total of 887 residents from 8 cities and provinces across the country had been evacuated in the aftermath of the latest downpours. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Donald Trump will be speaking at the Republican National Convention in the coming hours on Thursday evening local time and will accept the party's formal presidential nomination. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party candidate and current U.S. President Joe Biden is reportedly facing more pressure from his party to end his campaign. Our Lee Si-woo has more.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to formally accept the Republican presidential nomination and deliver a keynote speech at the Republican National Convention on Thursday evening local time, his first public address since he survived an assassination attempt at a rally on Saturday. He will take the stage at the RNC in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on the last day of the 4-day convention. During the first 3 days of the convention, Trump appeared with a white bandage on his ear, covering the gunshot wound he suffered during the assassination attempt. According to his party, the former president will share his vision to usher in a new golden age for America. On Sunday, Trump told the Washington Examiner newspaper that he decided to rewrite his speech following the assassination attempt and that he will share a message of unity instead of making attacks on Joe Biden, the current U.S. president and the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, according to U.S. media reports, leading Democrats have privately pushed Biden to drop out of the election race. The Associated Press and the Washington Post reported that former U.S. President Barack Obama has privately expressed concerns to Democrats about the viability of Biden's candidacy. Senator John Hickenlooper told Reuters on Wednesday that Biden is working towards a decision on whether to stay in the presidential race that is good for the country. But other Democrats continue to support Biden in his contest against Trump, with Vice President Kamala Harris saying unity does not involve, quote, an agenda that deprives whole groups of Americans of basic freedoms, opportunity, and dignity. 이시후, Arirang News.
Earlier this week, South Korea won a multi-billion-dollar bid to build at least 2 nuclear reactors in the Czech Republic. Now hopes are high that this deal will secure a foothold in Europe. For more, we're joined by Professor Shin Myung-gyu this morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Right. The Czech government on Wednesday picked the South Korean consortium Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power over rival French bidder EDF. Now, what do you believe is the primary reason Korea gained the upper hand?
Yeah, according to the Czech officials, it seems that the most important reason for this success was that the offer from the Korean government outperformed instead of that from France, of course. And I think that the price competitiveness played the key role here. According to the WNA, World Nuclear Association, the unit price of constructing the nuclear plant was about $3,600 per 1 kilowatt in Korea. But that was about $8,000 per 1 kilowatt in France, which is twice of that of Korea.
Right, and this deal marks the South Korea's largest nuclear power plant export since the 2009 Baraka deal in the UAE. Now, what economic significance does this have for South Korea?
Yeah, I think that it would have significantly positive effects on the Korean economy in 2 ways. First, there is a positive direct effect on the Korean economy by boosting export. According to the Czech government, it would take about $17 billion to build 2 nuclear reactors, which is a huge value, which is even greater than previously expected. Second, there are also indirect effects, which can be also important in the long run. For instance, there is a spillover effect on the sectors that provide intermediate goods to the nuclear sector to construct the reactors. And more future contracts can be made based on the performance of this project. So considering the latter effects, we can expect that the positive effect on the Korean economy can become even larger, which is really a good news for the Korean economy.
Right, so some positive signs the deal could lead to a successful entry into the European nuclear market. Now, speaking of exports, South Korea's outbound shipments seem to be well on track so far this year, with chip exports reaching a record high last month. What's behind the hike?
As you have already pointed out, it seems that the main driver of the export growth is ICT export, including the chip export. During the first half of this year, ICT export increased by about 30% from a year ago, and chip export grew by about 50%, which is a huge number. And this is mainly due to the AI boom that requires a lot of memory chips to process like machine learning. In addition, strong dollar has contributed to the export growth. It lowers the price of goods exported from South Korea, which could preserve the price competitiveness in the global market.
Right, and South Korea's automobile exports also reached a record high in the first half of 2024. Why the increase?
It seems that the price hike, mainly due to the increases in the export of the hybrid cars, has contributed to the surge in automobile exports. According to recent data, the unit price of cars exported from Korea during the first half of this year were about $25,000, which is at the historically highest level. So it implies that the price competitiveness is really high these days. And given that the unit price was about $17,000 in the first half of 2018, which is about 6 years ago, it is natural that the automobile exports have increased.
Right, and on the back of increased exports, global financial institutions have raised their growth projections for South Korea this year. What are the adjusted figures and main driving force behind the rise?
Yeah, and one of the most important factors seems to be more positive view on the world economy. The IMF adjusted its forecast on the world GDP upward by 0.1 percentage point, and that on Chinese GDP upward by 0.4 percentage point, which is one of the most important trade partners with Korea. Given that the Korean economy heavily relies on export, as we know, greater growth rate around the world can boost GDP growth of Korea, and that's why the IMF adjusted the expectation on the Korean GDP upward. And this seems to be already partly reflected by the substantial increase in export during the first half of this year, as we have already discussed.
Right, Professor. Thank you for your insight this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
After around a month, President Yoon was back on the road on Thursday to host his 27th Public Policy Dialogue. This time, and for the first time, it was in Jeollabuk-do Province. From industries to culture, President Yoon has vowed to help the province grow faster. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
Advanced technology, life, and culture. These are the key words that President Yoon presented to Jeollabuk-do Province as part of his vision to push the region. This came as he hosted the 27th Public Policy Dialogue there.
전북이 공들여서 육성하려고 하고 있는 2차 전지와 바이오 등 첨단 산업에 대한 기대도 그 어느 때보다 큽니다. 또 우리 전통 문화의 본산인 전북이 문화 산업의 새로운 거점이 될 것입니다.
Among the many pledges he made, first, he said the region needs to be the country's advanced technology bridgehead. To do this, the government will invest 250 billion Korean won, or around $180 by 2030, to create a hydrogen-specialized national industrial complex. By 2026, the infrastructure will be expanded to establish an innovative ecosystem for hydrogen commercial vehicles. As for life, the president is focusing on the region's strength in the agricultural industry. He pledged he would support young entrepreneurs and smart farms to relocate into the region. As for culture, on top of culture content support centers, he pledged to invest around $29 million to create a youth sports complex to foster national athletes. He also pledged that any regulations that hinder growth will be scrapped, as he ordered government officials to not think twice before making decisions when it comes to this.
성장을 방해하고 경제 활동, 자유로운 경제 활동을 막 불필요하게 제한하는 게 있으면은 즉시 폐지해 주기 바랍니다. 우리 여기 공무원들도 많이 오셨는데 그거를 뭐 검토하고 다른 부처하고 협의하고 그러기 전에 이거는 불필요하다 하면은 즉시 다른 부처에 또 유사한 게 있으면 같이 폐지하는 식으로 이렇게 해서.
This was his first time going to the region since he started the policy dialogues. He shared his personal experiences with the city, naming a couple of restaurants that he used to like. He also said it was tough to reach the region's main city of Jeonju from Gyeongsang-buk-do Province, requesting relevant government officials to speed up the decision to create a highway connecting the two regions. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
At the Summer Olympics in Paris, the South Korean table tennis team is preparing for a hopeful revival after a disappointing performance in the last two Olympics. Our Choi Soo-young has more.
Table tennis was first included as an official event at the 1988 Seoul Olympics. Since then, South Korea has won a total of 18 Olympic medals, including 3 golds, ranking second overall in Olympic table tennis history. However, after a golden era in the late 1990s and early 2000s, South Korea's performance declined in the 2010s, falling behind countries including China, Japan, and Germany. Even in the 2016 Rio and 2020 Tokyo Olympics, South Korea didn't claim any medals. But after the Tokyo Olympics, their competitiveness sharply improved through a newly launched professional table tennis league here. In results, at the Hangzhou Asian Games last year, the team won a total of 8 medals. Jeon Ji-hee, the oldest of the women's team and the Hangzhou Games women's doubles champion with her partner Shin Yu-bin, is competing in a 3rd Olympics in Paris. She became a South Korean citizen in 2011 after moving from China and is determined to give her everything in what will be her last Olympics.
After Tokyo, this Paris Olympics feels very close since it's being held just 3 years later. I will work hard to make up for the disappointment from Tokyo.
The team's morale is better than ever. Shin Yu-bin, who will compete in the women's team event and mixed doubles, has become a key player since her Olympic debut in Tokyo. She and her partner Im Jong-hun aim for gold in the mixed doubles.
My goal is to play without regrets, trusting in the hard training I've put effort into. I'll do my best to show my best performance, so please cheer for us.
In Paris, Jeon, Shin, and Lee Eun-hye will compete in the women's events, and Im, Chang Woo-jin, and Cho Dae-sung will compete in the men's events, aiming to win at least 3 medals. New hope is being kindled, starting from the 27th. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Si-young and this is The World Now. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has won a 2nd term in a vote on Thursday at the European Parliament. The Commission's first female president has pledged to create a continental defence union and to continue to support Europe's green transition. The 720-member chamber of the European Parliament voted 401 in favour and 284 against in a secret ballot to confirm von der Leyen's bid for another 5 years as the head of the European Union's powerful executive body. Addressing the European Parliament in Strasbourg before the election, von der Leyen vowed to create a true European defence union with flagship projects on air and cyber defence, while criticising extreme polarisation of our societies, saying that she will never accept that demagogues and extremists destroy our European way of life. Moving over to Paris, France, a police officer was critically injured in a stabbing attack in the city's Champs-Élysées luxury shopping district on Thursday, becoming the latest casualty in a string of unrelated security incidents ahead of the Paris Olympics. According to Paris Police Chief Laurent Nunez, the attacker was also critically injured, adding that the security guard at a boutique store called the police after spotting a man believed to be carrying a knife. Authorities called on people to avoid the Champs-Élysées, while local media footage showed armed police patrolling the area. France is currently at its highest security alert level ahead of the Games, and Thursday's incident follows the stabbing of a soldier at a Paris railway station on Monday and the ramming of a car into the terrace of a cafe, also in the capital, on Wednesday. Canada has inaugurated General Jenny Carignan as its Chief of the Defence Staff on Thursday, making her the first woman to command the country's armed forces. After the ceremony at the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa, Carignan said that Canada must prepare for emerging threats, saying that the country has about 5 years to get us close enough to be ready to counter those long-range type of threats. The 56-year-old trained as a military engineer before commanding soldiers in Afghanistan, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Iraq and Syria during her 35 years of service. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who called Carignan a role model for all Canadians and for the world, has been pursuing gender equality policies since taking office in 2015. A baby giant panda at a zoo in South China's Guangdong province celebrated turning 1 month old on Thursday. Giant panda Meng Meng, the eldest of the world's only living panda triplets, gave birth to a female cub on June 18th at the Chimelong Safari Park. Meng Meng gave birth after 128 days of pregnancy, marking the first panda birth in 5 years in the province's capital, Guangzhou. The baby giant panda has yet to be named, but is reportedly in good health, weighing some 1.3 kilograms.
Good morning. The monsoonal front that dropped downpours to central regions over the last couple of days has moved south, with rain falling heavily on and off, and rain is forecast to pick up through the afternoon. So Jeollabuk-do Province could see more than 100 millimeters today. Gyeonggi Province also needs to brace for torrential rain. This morning, a heavy rain advisory is in place for Jeollabuk-do Province, which should expand to more southern parts of the country as the day goes on today. In the meantime, the landslide crisis alert is at caution level in Jeollabuk-do and Gyeongbuk-do, and landslide alerts remain in place for parts of central areas from yesterday's downpours. The capital area will be under cloudy skies with a chance of light passing rain, and highs will go up 3 to 4 degrees higher, topping out at 31 degrees Celsius here in the capital. Jeju remains under heat alerts, topping out at 34 degrees, and it looks to be a rainy weekend for central regions. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next Monday at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.